We want the spring to come and the winter to pass. We want whoever to call or not call, a letter, a kiss. We want more and more and more, and then more of it. But there are moments, walking, when I catch a glimpse of myself in the window glass, say the window of the corner video store, and I'm gripped by a cherishing so deep for my own blowing hair, chapped face, and unbuttoned coat that I'm speechless. I am living. I remember you. Marie Howe, What the Living Do. 2004. Arthur. In April, the second woman jumped. "It happened again," was all Cam told Arthur. "Oh, God," Arthur said into the receiver. He had his palm on his forehead, the light angled in a golden wedge across his desk, his papers, dust sharpened to particles of gray diamond. The news about Laura had created the same terrible brilliance. He'd also found out by phone, and again the day, which had been pressing steadily forward, had snapped as inevitably as bad rope. "Mrs. Van Buren," his son said, "the mother of this kid in 8th grade. He was trying hard to school his voice to calmness. "We knew her." A face swam into Arthur's mind. Someone in a plaid taffeta shirt at Christmas parties, cheeks round as plates. "I'll be right there. I'll leave now," Arthur said, gathering pens, fumbling at the lock on his briefcase. As he swayed uptown on the subway with all the other dark-jacketed men, New York seemed a failed, grimy detour. Arthur had rarely felt more than lightly tethered here. Laura, another transplant, had also appeared bemused to find herself in the city, surrounded by its particular abundance. "The Philharmonic," she'd say. "We could go to the symphony," as if it were a slight surprise that this resource existed so close by. New York had merely been the setting in which Arthur tended his family and earned the money that kept them housed, fed, sustained. A stage, while the real life, the secret life amid his wife and children, unfolded in a maze of jokes and dinners, moods and arguments, a life tied not so much to location as to gesture, scraps of memory, the shape of the kitchen taps, and the quality of light in the bedroom. But then Laura had jumped, and the one part of the city about which he'd claimed intimate knowledge proved to be fatally unfamiliar. He never said, "after Laura died." "Jump" was the verb his mind selected, as if the soft exhalation of "died" were too tranquil or passive. Jump was all decisive, smashing action. New York, city of water, was in the end a bad match for a person raised in a desert. But in Wyoming, where he was born, he'd be able to keep an eye on his children. They would need to be driven to and from school. In Calendar, they'd be unable to slip out of his grasp below the city's surface, lost in its knots of tunnels. They'd have no use for cell phones out there where towers stood miles from one another. Lucy, his mother, a consummate watcher, would join him in this dry vigilance. Despite weather dedicated to extremes, its guns and rattlesnakes, the West at that moment seemed a safer place to raise children. Mostly it was a spot that held less of Laura and more of Lucy, who had chosen to wind her life into one small town. It was not that Wyoming hadn't changed, but it was where what was left of his family had decided to be a known and visible part. His name scratched the dirt there. Arthur had lived in Calendar until he was 14, and went back every August to visit Lucy, who still owned a house among the miles of fence parceling the rounded land to squares, amid falcons and meadowlarks, elk and sky. He knew this was at best a partial image. Golf courses now carpeted scrubland, condominiums and box stores bulked into the narrow valleys. Even so, he had been edging his way toward a return since Laura's death. He would take his children back this summer. They would stay for at least the fall. An advertisement offered him a chance to repair a torn earlobe. The doors sprang open at Lexington and 86th Street, and he and all the other whites leaped to the platform.